Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Behind the Shades. It's your host, Terraine, and we have quite the topic. Today, I want to talk about men who are emotionally unstable. There is instability in their emotions. And the example I'm going to use today is something that's in the news recently, featuring Raja Jackson, who is the son of former UFC champion Rampage Jackson. He was at a wrestling event, and the wrestlers backstage thought that he was part of the show because he had his camera crew with him. One of the wrestlers hit him over the head with a beer can, thinking he was part of the show.
Psycho Stu.
What, you don't know me?
Hell no. Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a little. Oh, you don't show it? He's not a fucking worker, bro. Calm down.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
He was upset by this and he felt disrespected, which a lot of people would. That isn't debatable at this point. After he expressed his grievances with this person, other people got involved to calm down the situation and to soothe him. They shook hands. It was water on the bridge. One person said, "Do you want to be a part of the show? And we'll create a spot for you." For those who don't know, a spot is a particular moment in a wrestling match where someone comes in, does something, then they leave. He agreed. Everyone thought that he was going to do his spot and leave. So what he did is what I'm going to show you next. This is what happens when a man is not able to control his emotions. Men who cannot soothe themselves, men who carry around a need to show their dominance, men who walk around emotionally unstable react that way. The slightest disrespect, no matter how small, how big, will always feel like the end of the world to them. What do I mean? Raja Jackson had to prove that he is the bigger, stronger man. In his mind, there was no other course of action. In his mind, there was no other way to show his masculinity. And by masculinity, I mean the toxic side. Not the men who open up the door and say, "Oh my God, you look so nice." Not that. We've all seen this side, right? The ones who stand on top of the car and flexes. The one who rips off their shirt thinking they're the Incredible Hulk. The one who kisses their own muscles and licks their own back. That's what I mean. That is why he sat there and it festered and it grew and it grew. And one of the worst things for men is the peanut gallery, meaning the voices in their ears. He was on a live stream, he was on Kick, and people were amping him up, putting the battery in his back. "Oh, you're going to let that slide? Look what he did to you. You're not going to do anything? You're not going to get your get back?" As this was happening, it was feeding his ego. It was feeding his insecurities. I can't let this guy disrespect me on camera. I gotta show who I am. I can't let my subscribers and my followers and my viewers see me not do anything. I gotta show the world. If this was a private situation between these two people, it likely wouldn't have gone that way. They would have talked about it, apologized, said their sorries, and moved on. Look at throughout history. So many conflicts are not because of two people getting into disagreements. It's because two people getting into disagreements in front of other people who are amplifying that disagreement, who's fanning the flames of their emotions. who's creating all this illogical behavior. He got into his feelings. He got into his feelings and he had to prove something. And the funny thing about situations like that is that these men think they're being masculine, whereas they're tapping into their feminine energy. What do I mean by that? This is what I mean. They're giving into negative thoughts. They're caring what other people say. They have something to prove because to themselves, they're not adequate. There's a deficit on an emotional level. And the only way for them to achieve it is through their fists. The guy made a mistake. He used his words to apologize, and other people came around. That's how men do it. If he didn't want to accept the apology, that is within his right, but he should have left the venue. But what he did, he took advantage of a situation where the guy wasn't prepared. There's nothing more cowardly. He knew exactly what he was doing because as soon as other people got inside his head through his ears, he lost. He no longer had the self-control. He no longer had the logical thinking. Everything was feelings based. I feel disrespected. I feel I have to do this. I can't let my audience feel like I'm not the man, feel like I'm not strong. He had to puff out his chest. He stood there peacocking, showing all his colors to people that don't really care about him. That is something that a lot of men struggle with. A lot of men struggle with this. I need to perform like I'm a circus animal for all the audience to see. They don't realize that the ringmaster or the viewing audience perform for me, jump for me, do these things for me. Every single person I told him to go do that, they're going to go back home and sleep in their bed where he has to live life totally different today than it was before this incident. Do you think any of those people who told him to do this are going to visit him in jail? Do you think any of those people who egged him on and pushed him and put the battery in his back are going to sit in that cell with him if it goes that far? He is going to have to hold all of the consequences of actions that weren't his own because he only did it to entertain the masses. That is something we can all learn from men. Sometimes the people around us make us do things that we wouldn't normally do in private. It's because every man wants to be the strongest person in the room, right? But what men seem to forget is that there's emotional strength, spiritual strength, mental strength, which is far more important than physical strength. Raja Jackson and all the men out there, here's a lesson that you could take away from this. It is your responsibility to control yourself. It is your responsibility to be accountable to your actions. No one else is responsible for what you feel and what you do. You are. The minute you give up your power and you allow someone to control or dictate what you feel, you've already lost. And once you've lost that, it is very difficult to come back from it.